That's because I don't have a 3D scan or something of this van. So when I modeled it out, I just had to do some measurements and kind of come close. So we will know shortly how much of this has to come off, and then this will come back to right to this point here. The cabinets will be here. This will be bed platform. The seats will be there that will fold out into a bed, and it'll be 6 feet long. We're both 5'10". Marilyn likes to hang her feet over the edge. So that's gonna give her about 6 inches between here and the fridge that's going in. This is starting to look legit now. I'm excited. Okay, so we cut that at the angle so that it can fit right in here, flush up against this wall. It's the lovely thing about having a van with curves everywhere. Now we slide this back on. Do this back up. And for stability, I'm going to slide some of these legs back on just loosely until everything's tightened up again. And there we go. Okay, so this is all fitted. Now I can do the final measurements for this leg right here to know exactly where it'll be. I do want to be able to access this little area in here, so I don't want that leg all the way over. The drawers are going to be, yeah, about right there, but I'll figure that out now. Then I can drill and put those in their place, and then I can start working on the cabinet itself, attaching it to that wall. This is moving along, like it's going to be bolted down soon. Go. Like a glove. So the other thing we have to unbox now is the DC to DC charger. Normally, I prefer lead acid. Lead acid, you can literally just connect straight to your battery or alternator with an isolator or a relay, and you don't have to do anything more. As long as there's very, very little, if no voltage drop along your wire, so you need a heavy gauge wire, that will always keep your lead acid AGMs topped up. You don't need any other technology than that. This one, I went against my better judgment, bought a lithium, mostly because it's going to be inside the vehicle. Lithiums have to be kept warm in the wintertime for them to work well. And it's wintertime half the year here. So that's one of the reasons I didn't want to go with lithium.
Also the weight.
And then weight too, yeah. The weight is like a third of what lead acid is. But we ended up doing it just because we wanted to try it. There was some good deals from Renogy at the time.
I also, for the record, wanted to go with the, what is it?
Lead acid.
Lead acid, yeah.
She doesn't even know what she's talking about.
I do.
For the record, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But yeah, no, we both kind of were leaning towards the lead acid. This was actually inexpensive enough. I think this was on sale for like $200. It's a good solid DC to DC charger, 50 amp. It also has input for solar. Solar is something I've never been a fan of. It just offers you so little for what it actually provides. But we might put a small panel up on the roof. We have 2 sunroofs, so we don't have a lot of room. We might put one up there just so that we can get some residual energy when sitting, because we really don't use a lot. The fridge is going to be the biggest one. And if we can find a solar panel that will provide, you know, that 2 amps that this fridge will need to run continuously, then during the day we don't have to do anything at all. We'll have enough to run it just sitting still. The alternator on our last van, it was a 70 amp alternator, small little Toyota alternator, kept our 200 amp hours topped up all the time. At 50% charge, we could be up at 95% charge in like an hour and a half. So they give us the communications cable, a temperature sensor, and some lugs for connecting the wire. And then I'm not sure what that's for. Oh, is that maybe positive to the battery? That's the other thing. As soon as you put lithium in, everything gets more complicated. So if you're a beginner, I would say take the weight, go with lead acid, spare yourself a lot of this complexity, but it's got to be able to get some heat dissipation, so it can't be too boxed up. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to play with it right now before things got too far along. This time, our lithium battery, Bluetooth enabled. I don't know if I'll even care about that. Pretty decent deal, so we figured why not? Let's make the jump to lithium. I'm hoping they don't regret it. The cold is really when it's going to be put to the test. Capacity to weight is hard to ignore, and we wanted to keep everything really light on this build. You never know until you try. I think I have about 80 of these Renogy stickers now. Bolts for the power connections, protectors for the power connections, and there it is. And I tell you, that's way easier to move around than 200 amp hours of lead acid. That is for sure. So this is it. Bluetooth lithium iron phosphate, 12 volts, 200 amp hours, probably weighs about 35 pounds. It's going to be tucked in back here underneath the cabinets and drawers. Looks like it does have some accessible panels, but you probably have to crack some stuff open to get at it. So I do imagine they are serviceable by Renogy. 200 amp hours, maximum charge current is 100 amps, maximum discharge current is 200 amps. So I could run this solid for an hour till dry and it would supposedly be able to take it. One of the other advantages with lithium is that they can deliver a lot more power a lot faster. So if you have big power demands and have lead acid, you need to have a bigger battery bank to be able to draw larger amounts from the delicate RV lead acid batteries. Car starter batteries you can draw a ton from in a very short time, but they're garbage for long-term small loads. A small load will kill one of those in no time at all. This thing right now is in shelf mode. Just did a little bit of reading. I was trying to connect to it with Bluetooth and I was like, why isn't it showing up? To take it out of shelf mode, I have to draw more than 1 amp. I'm not sure I've got everything set up to do that yet. I could try to hook up the freezer, but I think that it's like 2 amps max, which often they can draw a lot lower than what they're rated at because their rating is kind of set to be the most they'll ever draw. So I could hook it up and it could also not work. So I'm just gonna wait. So I'll show you guys that at a later date. Fits exactly where I was expecting it to fit. Inside that cabinet, the drawers are going to be above this section here. All of this will be user accessible. I'll be able to take the drawer unit out and I'll be able to get at everything with the fridge out as well. I'll be able to see all my electrics all in one spot, other than the few cords running out to the peripheral spots to be used. I'm excited now. I've got to get all of this 80/20 stuff done up here. Now let's get to it. Okay, so we've made all of these modular so they can kind of come out one at a time. Also because the doors aren't big enough to take this whole apparatus in and out. That's another reason why it's set up the way it is. So essentially this is all one unit. This section here that attaches where the drawers will be one unit. And then this part here will be one unit. And they all slide together like so, because you have to get the end fasteners to slide on, and these tighten from here. So it's a little bit like a puzzle. So now that this is all together, the other thing that we purposely designed in was this to be a cage for the battery. So the battery won't be able to go anywhere, slam on the brakes, hit the gas, slamming side to side, or even in a rollover. Everything will have that battery locked away, so it can't become a projectile in the case of an accident. Making some good headway. I really wasn't sure how I was going to do this corner, but I got it figured. I'll show you in a second. I'm just adding now all of the cross bracing, and again, Marilyn has been tapping those. I've been cutting and cross drilling the access holes that let this go through to tighten it up. So right now I'm going to add one of these end fasteners to this, and I'm going to mount it onto that. Rats, actually this is the problem with 80/20. When you get into little corners and awkward places, like for example, to do this one up, I had to take this out. To take this out, I have to take this one off. So you have to sometimes do things cascaded in the right order. So I'm going to start by threading this down the back side where this is going to go. This is the access hole, so I'll just set the Allen key in the head of it for now. Then this threaded end will go on here. This is where it gets kind of jerky. Sometimes you have to take things apart completely just to get one piece in. So you really need to think through your... Okay, good. Thought maybe I'd lost it completely. You really need to think through your design so that it doesn't leave you in a snafu where you can't do something because the order of events just doesn't fit right. Most of the time, it's good. And it works. Everything's hunky-dory. So this will be some of the bracing and some of the internal strength for the shelving, but this is all getting really sturdy. Now I'm going to put this one on here. So there we go. Now the entire cabinet is together. All I have to do now is attach it up here. I'm going to use the oh crap handle as an anchor for the top part of this. It's starting to look legit. Okay, so you'll see that today is another day. It got frustrating really fast. Part of the problem with small spaces and this stuff is that you don't always have access to the places you need to fasten things. And when you start to chain them together, and I have a really bad habit of that to save on material, because why have two pillars side by side if you can use the same one? The problem is as soon as they're attached, all of a sudden everything gets more complex. If I was in an open room and had no walls, then it would be no problem. Here, unfortunately, that's not the case. So I'm gonna do some changes today, some basic ones. I'm gonna disconnect this right here, and I'm gonna separate this unit from this unit so that it's easy to just work on this unit, take it out. Same thing with the back unit, then it'll just be able to come out. Then my next challenge will be figuring out how to attach the two, but that's a problem for tomorrow, Eric. And it'll probably be a lot less frustrating than what I had to deal with yesterday. So I'm going to get to work on rearranging this one, and then I can build the drawer unit completely, and then we're going to be pretty darn close to just fastening things to the wall. I can probably do the countertop, and then we're going to be getting on to the cabinet work, but electrical probably will happen before then. Today is going to be finishing up this. So this is the nightmare piece that was causing all of the problems, only because it was attached to this and that's attached to that, and trying to change anything is an absolute bear when you want like no tolerance here, there, everything to be snug. So I've separated this piece just for that reason alone. So now that one will sit like so.
And this is what piece?
This is the drawers.
Right.
Now, it still needs a little bit of fine tuning. The battery will sit inside of this. This will be the cage for the battery. I need to also measure where that will be, because that's going to be the outer limit of that. Now, these rails here are set so that the drawer rails will bolt right onto them. So I don't need any other additional hardware. I'll just have to fine tune them. Once they're all set, it'll be solid. I'm going to do one more bar that'll go from here to here and connect this across. And then that can be mounted in. I have to find some way to connect these to each other and these so that it just holds itself in place. Again, that's a relatively easy task. And then this will connect to that like so, right about there. Fridge, drawers, cupboards, seats with storage underneath, 2 pull-out drawers that will go at the back, and they actually come up to here, so they'll extend quite a ways. Those drawer rails will sit on this. We are on the final stretch now. I'm excited. It will pretty much go like this. That will be sitting, and then it'll go down like that for the last section of the bed. Remember, this part of the bed is still in the van. How these seats turn into a seat and then back into a bed, all that's coming soon.